We're going to get started, and I want to start by saying welcome to the Parkville Living Center. We're a service entity that, among other things, utilizes Platte County property tax revenue to support the well-being of older adults in Platte County, including a meal program that offers older adults a healthy and delicious lunch twice a week. We also run a program called Critical Community Resources, formerly known as Crisis Interventions, where we provide gap assistance to folks in need. And we are a community center that celebrates and makes space for the spirit of love in our community. This winter, that means piloting a new yoga program for school-age kids. So it's programs like that that we do here in the community. But tonight we're here to listen. So look around and recognize that we are Platte County. We're friends, we're neighbors, we're coworkers, and we're family. So let's take the time to listen to each presentation thoughtfully. And if we have some questions, we can ask concise questions tonight. But if questions bubble up over time, those questions can still come to the Living Center or to the representative you're speaking to, and they'd be happy to answer your questions even after tonight. We are live streaming, so that's why we have the microphone. We'll be passing it around for our Q&A portion. And so we're live streaming on Facebook, and we will post this onto our website and YouTube in the next 2 days once we get it taken off of Facebook and put onto YouTube and the website. So we're going to get on with the program tonight. The program tonight is going to be as follows. We're having Allyson Berberich speak, and then Charles McDonald speak as the county commissioner candidates for District 1. Then we're going to open it up for a Q&A for those county commissioners, candidates. And then we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, reset things back again for our presentations for the Children's Services Fund. Proponent, Greg Plumb, and Chris Wright speaking as an opponent, with a Q&A open for that as well. And in the meantime, we may get an update on a score if anyone's interested in it. So no need to go to your phones during the presentations. We're here to pay attention, and we'll get the update in the intermissions. So without further ado, I'd like to give the mic over to Allyson Berberich for her presentation.
Hello, can you all hear me? Okay, do I need to move this up? Is that better? Perfect. Good. I'm Allyson Berberich. I am a resident of Parkville here, just down the road. My husband and I moved to Platte County 16 years ago. We've lived in Thousand Oaks that whole time. For the first time, we were unincorporated Platte County. Then we moved to the Parkville area. We moved up here from Kansas City, Missouri. We lived near the Waldo Brookside area and started our family and decided we needed to move to a place where we had better schools and a better way of life to raise our family. So we chose Parkville. We loved Parkville. We loved Platte County. We loved coming up here to the park and to Main Street and these great shops and restaurants and having dinner out and all the things. And we decided this was the place that we wanted to raise our family. And it's been great. And we've never regretted it. It's been an amazing place to do just that, to raise our family, meet some amazing friends, and get involved in the community, which we did from the beginning. So we spent a lot of time at Union Chapel Elementary, Park Hill School down the road. I served on their PTA for about 5 years, the treasurer. I have a little bit of a finance and numbers background. So I served as their treasurer for a number of years when my kids were pretty little. Met some amazing friends and did a lot of work there, raising money for their auction and to give back to the teachers and field trips for the kids and all of those different things. After that, the kids got a little older. PTA, gets to be not quite as exciting as the kids get into middle school and high school. So then I pivoted because I always just love to volunteer, love to meet people and do things for the community. So at that point, I volunteered for our HOA, for the HOA for our neighborhood. I did that for a couple of years. Totally different animal than the PTA, but also learned different things. Just kind of started in budgets in a different way. Instead of a PTA budget, kind of learning the ins and outs of hiring a groundskeeping crew or figuring out snow removal for the clubhouse parking lot. Things that are a little more municipal in a way, if you will. After that, I was reached out by a friend who was working at Park University at the time, and the Parkville Planning and Zoning Commission was looking for a replacement, a person for the Planning and Zoning Commissioner. There was an open seat, and I said, well, sure. I don't know what it is, but tell me about it. So I learned a little bit about what that position is, that volunteer position. And I was appointed by the then mayor for a middle of a term and then started a new term. So I served there for about 4 or 5 years. And that was incredible to learn about local government. It was kind of local government 101. Some of the things that maybe I learned in high school or college, but forgot. And had kind of a really deep dive into how does this all work, and that's where I kind of got a inkling for, or a passion for, this local government and giving back to the community at a bigger level like that. I never aspired to, never thought that I wanted to be involved in that, but it was very rewarding, serving on planning and zoning, and again, another different animal, learning about developers and city codes and the city redrew some maps. Parkville's grown a lot, so the ward maps changed, and there was an opening in Ward 4 for an alderperson. And a number of people that I've met through these different positions over the years in my life encouraged me to go for it. And although I was sad to leave the planning and zoning, a couple of my planning and zoning commissioners had also made the jump to the city board. So I decided, all right, let's try that. Let's try another new thing. So I ran for alderman in 2023 and was elected to that position. So I've been an alderwoman for the city of Parkville for the last 1.5 years. And it has been really similar to planning and zoning, but of course a lot more responsibility and a few more hours a month, all those types of things. But my family's been behind me the whole way. They have been very supportive. And so when the opening came to run for county commissioner, same thing. I looked at my family and I said, okay, this is a new thing. Should we do it? I've learned a lot along the way in these volunteer things. And as an elected official, should I try this new thing? So we talked about it a lot, talked to my family, talked to my extended family. And after a couple of months decided, okay, let's do this. Again, we love Platte County, love to give back. So I decided what better way than to do that at the county level. So I did a little bit of looking into the Platte County website over the last few months as I've been running this campaign. The mission of the Platte County Commission is to provide service, infrastructure, leadership, vision, and accountability necessary to ensure taxpayers and citizens receive exceptional core services and protection of private economic opportunity and individual liberty. And I love this mission because a lot of that speaks to me, providing service, which I'm a servant leader, and I love to provide a service to the community and to the people that I work with, providing leadership and vision and accountability. So all of those things speak to me. So I hope to be able to do that for the commission and for the county. I really strongly believe in supporting law enforcement. I have started a relationship with the sheriff-elect, Major Holland, and hope to be able to work with him in the future to continue to provide those services to the county to keep all of us safe. I also really strongly believe in fiscal responsibility. I mentioned earlier that I have a background in numbers. I have a master's degree in finance. Keeping payroll. I love looking at a budget, and it's really important to me that the money that we're collecting from taxes is used in the right way and used in a way that helps every citizen. And if we're not using it all, perhaps we lower the taxes or rearrange the budget. So the fiscal responsibility piece is a huge thing to me. So those are the two really important pieces for my campaign, and I look forward to answering any questions that you have.
Here's your water. All right, thank you, Allyson. And now we're going to hear from Charles McDonald. Thank you.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Thank Marcus for inviting us here to talk about the future of Platte County. I appreciate the opportunity. This place brings back memories. Both of my sons did scouting here, and he's ran around the fellowship hall of this church. So it's bring back a lot of memories being here. So let me just say a few words about myself. My name is Charles McDonald. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. If you didn't know it, you can hear it from my accent. I want to say that we did not plan to both wear black and green today. In my outfit, I need to go. I work night shift at the local hospital down the street, so I need to go to work after this forum. But I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. Moved up here in 2005. We left the Sunday before Katrina hit, so I moved my fiance and her 2 children, and we moved up to Leavenworth, Kansas. And a year later, we moved to Parkville. My 2 older kids matriculated through Park Hill schools, and now my youngest son is a student at Lakeview. During that time, when both kids went up the street to Graydon, I was a part of the Watchdogs, Dads of Great Students. I was one of the planners and one of the co-chairs while both my older kids went to the school. Also, during that same time, I worked with the Scouts when my sons was in scouting. I worked with my older son since 2014 until he matriculated to first class Scout. Well, not first class, to Life Scout. And then my younger son, I was the assistant scoutmaster of his troop and worked with him also. During that time also, while my kids were growing up, I coached basketball and football. Not the best coach, just a volunteer dad trying to say, hey, catch the ball, run with the ball, shoot the ball, dribble the ball, don't hurt yourself. But I did volunteer coach for a few years also at the YMCA. In the South Platte YMCA. So yeah, volunteering is part of my repertoire. Also, my profession with the scrubs on, I do work in the healthcare. I became a licensed medical laboratory scientist in 2001. Since then, I've been working in the field in different varieties of facilities, hospitals, reference laboratories. During that time, I got to meet incredible people and do incredible work. Just going to touch on a few of the things I've done. I'm a past president of the Heart of America Association of Blood Bankers. That's so blood bankers is basically when you go to the hospital and get blood, those are the people who do the testing. And this society, the Heart of America chapter runs from Kansas, Missouri, all the way to Central Illinois. And I was the president of the organization. So that took a lot of strategic planning, organizational skills, working with people from diverse areas, trying to meet and organize and plan for the next for the next events and the things to create the provision of that organization. On top of that, I'm also the past president of the Clinical Laboratory Management Association, Heart of America chapter. That chapter works from Central Kansas and the entire state of Missouri. And that organization is the managers and the supervisors and the directors that run the laboratories. We work to help with education and networking and development of those laboratorians so they can build up their leadership skills. We learn our technical skills when we're in the laboratory, when we're in school, but we never build our leadership skills, and that's what we did at that organization. Currently, I'm a board of a bunch of committees and councils in the healthcare field with the American Association of Clinical Pathology and I think they changed their name. They are now the American Association of Laboratory Medicine. My experience in the nonprofit sector, I used to work for Heart to Heart International. Part of my job was to manage all the laboratory programs. During that time, we placed 20 safety net clinical lab, we placed 20 laboratories in safety net clinics. A safety net clinic is a clinic that does not receive any type of government funding. So it's all donations. And these people work with the underserved or the under-resourced areas in their communities. And I've been all over the country working these areas from West Virginia to rural Mississippi, Louisiana, even out west into rural parts of Utah. So during that time, I've gained a lot of experience working with diverse people, diverse populations, but always working in service. So when the opportunity came to work with the Democrats with their political aspirations, I decided to I'll think about it. I'm gonna have a busy schedule on my plate, but as a servant leader in my field, I decided to take the leap and I decided to join the Central Committee for the Democrats and promote the democratic ideas as far as helping everyone and supporting everyone, not just the few that have the inside. So when I look at Platte County, okay, thank you. So when I look at Platte County, what I think that's needed mostly is some openness, some transparency, and some accountability. We just had an initiative to try to renovate the jail, and that's disappointing because the jail really does need renovation. I know there's going to be questions about that later, but I think that if we have a little bit more trust, a little bit more openness, a little bit more forthrightness, that we can have a better dialogue and communication, that we can get things moving in the right direction with those type of initiatives. It's because it's going to take the entire community to make those type of decisions that needs to be made to move Platte County forward. So what I would like, so when I look at what's needed in Platte County, I think the biggest thing that's needed in Platte County is some accountability with the finances. We must solve why we have a junk bond rating, and we need to solve that immediately before we can move on any other initiative. And I understand there'll be questions about it, but I'm just opening up the floor to why I'm running and why I think that being more open, more transparent, and more accountable to the people of Platte County is what's needed for this position. So that's why I'm running, and that's why I want to be the next commissioner for the 1st District. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Charles. Sounds like we got some great candidates and some good question prompts already. So I'll get the table moved up here. We're gonna ask the candidates to come up and sit down, and then we'll start our 20-minute or so Q&A session. And just as an update, at the end of the first inning, the score is 0-0. All right. Well, you guys heard it from the candidates themselves. And so right now I'd like to ask if there are any questions that we can pose to these candidates. And I'll come around with the microphone, ask the question, and then for folks on internet land, then we'll give them a time to respond. So are there any questions right now from these candidates? Got one right here.
Hi, Scott Fricker, Platte County Commissioner. Using your core political values as a guide, excuse me, please describe what you see as local government's role in the community.
Is this on? You can hear me. Local government's role in the community. I would say number one is public safety. That's the number one role, is to oversee law enforcement, that they have the resources and funding and whatever they need to keep the public safe. I would say roads, parks are another responsibility of the local government, to make sure the roads are travelable. Is that a word? And that there's parks and resources and places for families to go. And other than that, I feel like there shouldn't be massive overreach for the local government. There should be as little regulation as possible. Otherwise, let the citizens, enjoy their roads and parks and in a safe way.
I think the role of local government is stewardship. We are entrusted with the county's resources. And so what we need to be doing is looking to the county and saying, what do we want to do with the county's resources? Sorry. All right. There we go. Is that better? Great. Sorry about that. This first time I'm a newbie for this. So, okay. So please forgive me. I think the first thing for local governance is accountability to the citizens, is stewardship of the finances, stewardship of the departments that are under their guidance, and stewardship to the citizens. Find out what the citizens need and want from local government, and then be the facilitators to put those things into action and to make those things possible for the citizens of the community. Of course, everybody want great parks, great roads. But when we think about public safety, we can't be blind and think it's just police. Public safety there are social determinants to public safety, just like there are social determinants to health. So we need to look at mental health. We look at good schools. We look at housing. So we can't just be very focused on one aspect of something. And that's what local governance is there for, to be accountable for those things and to be transparent about those things, of how we're dealing with those issues and ideas.
Any other questions?
Okay. Right now on a lot of the committees. On a lot of the committees, like Allyson, you said when you were first asked to be on a committee, a friend reached out to you from the commission. And we have seen in the past a lot of just friends and family on those committees. Will you both look at appointing diverse group of people that just aren't friends and family, other people in the community from both parties, and diverse backgrounds?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I was probably, all the times that I was asked to fill a position or be on a committee, it wasn't my family, and it was more of an acquaintance or someone I had met through a committee. So they had seen my ability to lead or be committed to a certain plan or project, and I will seek out the same for appointments.
So just to fill in that answer to the question, what it should be is an open process. If somebody wants to fill a committee, it should be open to the public. People submit their resumes, applications, and then as a commission, we should need to review those, and then we pick the most qualified person. It's just like any kind of job interview. This should be the same way for the committees for Platte County.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? All right.
No one knows what I'm going to ask. Yeah. Corky McCaffrey, I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Not-for-Profit Synergy Services. And I want to know where both of you stand on the second half of this program, the Platte County Children's Services Fund.
I have a hard time with the language of the tax that I would with any tax, that it doesn't sunset. So that's my concern about it, no matter what the topic is. For any tax that's going to come before citizens, there should be the opportunity for it to have some sort of an expiration or a time when it is reevaluated, see if it's how it's going. So that's one of the issues that I have with the language of the tax. As far as supporting children and in our community, that darn paper. Absolutely, we need to support children. Children needs all the support that they can get. You know, I think that the citizens are going to decide. I think it's hard to know exactly what it's going to cover. So I'd be really anxious to see how the budget is lined out once the tax is passed, how the budget is lined out and what exactly it's going to be spent on, because there's a lot of discussion right now and a lot of questions and confusion about what exactly it's going to be spent on. So if it's spent on supporting children, I'm all for that.
So I look at the tax, the way it's been proposed, the same in Jackson County, St. Clair County, and it has been working for those counties. So I think that Platte can do an admirable job also with the same type of program. I do have the same concern about taxes not sunsetting. I don't think there should be forever tax. I think there should, but that's the wording of the proposal, and that's the way it's going to be written. But I also look at it, and I don't look at it as a children's issue. I actually look at it as a public safety issue. When we look at mental health and mental health issues, we always say when they have these multi shootings, when there's multiple victims, we always say it's a mental health issue. Well, if it's a mental health issue, we need to be doing things to work with mental health. Also, we had a rash of, I don't know if it was some fake or some real, of these calls going into our public schools about school shooters or there may be a shooter. These are mental health issues. Even if the kids are just joking, that's a mental health issue. Why would you think that's funny? And so we need to be putting all the resources we can into helping this mental health issue, because if the mental health issues is not solved, it's going to become a public safety issue. And we need to be proactive on the way we deal with public safety, not just being reactive once the crime is committed. We need to be proactive to try to do things we can to stop all the social, and I call it the social determinants of crime, and try to solve those things before crime happens.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, we got another question right here. Here you go, ma'am.
State Representative Jamie Johnson, how do you plan to work with local officials up and down the ballot to make a brighter future for my district, but also for Platte County, since you will be, since most of your district it mirrors mine?
Interesting. I know our relationship has been rocky with the state rep, but but I think I can work with most of the state officials. Oh, I'm sorry. Jamie Johnson is also my former wife. So, and the mother of my three beautiful kids. So, but I think that, but you're absolutely right. We do need to be working with not just, it can't just be local government. We do have to partner, not just with the state, but with all the municipalities. So we got to work with Riverside. We got to work with Weatherby Lake. We got to work with Weston. We got to work with Tracy. We got to work with all the municipalities to actually get a vision of what we want Platte County to be, but not just today, but the next 10 to 20 years. So we do need to have that relationship to try to build what we want, as what the citizens want Platte County to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Working together. I mean, in the city of Parkville, my time there, we've done that. We've invited you, Representative Johnson, to come to a meeting. We had some utility issues here in Parkville. We've worked together, the city of Parkville with the county to work on grants. We've worked with other cities to pool money together to work on a transportation initiative about fixing 169 and some of the feeders to the Northland. So absolutely, I mean, any opportunity that we can get to work together with state representatives, other municipalities, back and forth from city to county, county to city, city to state. Absolutely, that's necessary, because the more we work together, yeah, the more we can get done.
Right.
Okay, so the voters did reject the jail tax. Do you have an alternative proposal? Because clearly we do need to do something about the jail. And more broadly, do you have strategies for improving the county's bond rating?
The first question, I don't have an answer to the jail tax. That's definitely something that the next commission is going to need to address. I mean, it's gone to the voters twice and failed twice. Unfortunately, now we're kind of in dire straits because we are sending inmates every day to other counties and paying them for that. So it is costing the county crazy amount of money to send those inmates out. So something needs to be done soon. But to your second question, yeah, I think that addressing the credit rating of the county first before trying to have a bond pass is important. I mean, we need to get that credit rating back up. Obviously, there's some past issues with Zona and other things, but I feel like the financial stability of the county is great. So there has to be a way to get that bond rating up. So that's going to be another thing that the commission will have to do, is to meet with outside or internal financial consultants to figure out, who do we go to? What do we do? Do we write a letter? Who do we call? Because that needs to be one of the first orders of business.
Yes. Answer the second question first. I agree with you. We do need to actually reach out to Fitch, reach out to Moody's, and figure out what we need to do to improve the rating. That's first and foremost before we try to tackle any major project such as the jail. It is unfortunate that the jail bond did not pass. The jail does need to be renovated and it does need to be expanded. But what we need to do is reach out to the citizens and ask them, how do you want us to finance this? Because it has to be done. But what we can't do is just decide that we're going to propose something and just hope people pass it. We need to really reach out to people and see what's going to be feasible for the citizens of Platte County. But we do need to realize that it is a dire need for the jail to be renovated and expanded. And therefore, we need to reach out to the citizens and have forums like these here, but not just in Parkville, but all over Platte County, to find out what can we do as a commission to make the jail, to renovate the jail. The jail's 30 years old and is deteriorating, so it does need to be renovated. And Platte County is the fastest growing county in the state of Missouri, so we're gonna have more crime. It's just the way it is. And I know that the sheriff has been doing Platte County Cares has been a great program as far as trying to work with recidivism, but we're going to need to do something about that. And I think we need to reach out to multiple entities to see how do we propose something that the citizens will support, so we don't have another situation where we put in a proposal up there just for it could be defeated 2-1.
Thank you. All right, I think we got time for one more question if there's one. And remember, any questions that don't get asked today, you can email to me and we'll get them to the candidates and we'll post them on our website. We got a gentleman here. Okay.
Okay. I love books, I love to read, and I love libraries. And I know that the commission is responsible for appointing people that are on the library committees. And there's been a lot of movement around the country where people are banning books, even in county and not just school libraries, but public libraries. And I would like to know what kind of commitment would come from either of you that you're going to be diligent in who you appoint to any library committees and make sure that they're not the book banning type.
Thank you for that question. To address that again, so we're going to look for people that, like I said, my proposal is to make it as an application process where people, we look at their experience, look at their background, and see that they're the most qualified person to do these, to be in these positions. So that's what I look for. I just look for experience and the experience in that, and we should evaluate it from that perspective. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be some type of vetting process for any of the boards, including the library board, any openings, because we want to make sure, you know, they're spending tons of our taxpayer money, these boards. So yes, there needs to be a vetting process, whether it's figuring out, you know, their education or their work experience or what they've done in the community beforehand, to confirm that they're committed to the county and what their values are. So, you know, I don't know that a formal application process is the way that I would prefer to go, but definitely a vetting questionnaire, you know, working with the other commissioners to figure out, weighing the pros and cons of each appointment and each person, to figure out their core values.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll do a little transition now where we push the seat back and get ready for our next presenters. And again, if there's any questions, please write them down. I'll collect them at the end and we get them to our candidates, or you feel free to ask them yourselves. We're going to be hanging out afterwards for a little bit, I think. So I know Charles has to leave, but he's easy to reach too. So 0-0, top of the third. Let's give a round of applause to our candidates. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm getting ready to get this moved. I want to announce a couple of activities and events that we have at the Parkville Living Center coming up. We have our annual Arts and Crafts Fair this Saturday from 10 to 2. We're going to have 25 local artists in this space. It's one of our fundraisers, but it's also just a chance to shop. So it's a way to come and yeah, Christmas is coming. You don't got to go to Amazon. You can just get from your local crafters and support our community center. We also have a monthly community dinner. It's called Break Time. This month, it's on the 25th, and we're going to have a swing band up here playing, and they're called the Little Big Band. And so we clear out some space, and we're just going to have like some chili that day because the band's going to be really the activity. We're just going to have some food and then a big open area for some fun and listening to some big band swing music. And that's on the 25th of October from 6 to 8. The next day is our Halloween activities on the 26th. We're pairing up with the city and the Parkville Nature Sanctuary to create a day of Halloween fun. So we'll be here from 3 to 5:30, filling the gap from downtown and ghost stories. So if you find yourself out that day, come by and have some Halloween fun here. And the last thing I'll say is we have a Thanksgiving event on Thanksgiving Day. You know, we create community and family, and a reason to be thankful, or an opportunity to show our thankfulness. So on Thanksgiving Day, that opportunity is available if you want to come and partake in the meal or serve or help or volunteer. We'd greatly appreciate you at that time too. All right. So now it is on. All right. So now we're going to hear from the Platte County Children's Fund tax proposal, the proponent, Greg Plumb.
Thanks for the opportunity for us to talk about this important issue. My name is Greg Plumb. I'm a college professor and I grew up in this area. In fact, I earned my Eagle Scout badge right in this hallway. So that's been a few years ago. I have continued to be involved in youth programs, scouting and others. And in addition to being a college professor, I'm a community volunteer. And so when I was approached about the Children's Services Fund, and I did some investigation and I decided I was all in. I'm going to provide you with sources of information so you can go and look at these yourself and make an informed decision. You don't have to go by what I say. So first of all, the state statute, which is revised statutes of Missouri section 67.175, specifies the wording on the ballot. And it does not include a sunset provision. So that's part of the state statute. And Clay County and Jackson County have those funds. We have a representative from Clay. Did he make it? Yeah, Rob. Oh, okay. So they're here and they have had the Children's Services Fund tax for several years. And I'm sure they'd be happy to answer some questions. But to Allison's point about the sunset provisions, the statute the General Assembly passed does not have that in it. So that's why you have that wording. As far as how the money can be used, there's another statute, section 210.861, and that's the statute that specifies how the tax is to be applied. There's a board of directors that's to be appointed by the county commission, and it dictates how the funds should be used, how they're organized, and it puts some restrictions. And a good resource for all of this that I'm talking about, go to the Clay County Services Fund page, and they have lots of information, including the statutory provisions. The funds can be used for children from birth to 19 years of age who are residents of Platte County. Residents of Platte County. So the agencies cannot spend this money on residents of Clay County, Jackson County, or non-residents who live here, whatever term you want to use for them. Services include counseling and therapy, crisis intervention, intervention programs, mental health screenings, outpatient chemical dependency, outpatient psychiatric treatment, prevention programs, psychological evaluations, respite care, temporary shelter, unwed mothers services, and unmarried parents services. So for example, a Parkville Women's Clinic, because of other qualifications, would qualify for some of these funds. The funds may not be used for the following: inpatient medical, psychiatric, and chemical dependency services. So anybody concerned about surgeries, transgender surgeries, whatever, money cannot be used for that by statute. Cannot be used for transportation services, grants to individuals, capital expenditures, annual appeals, or endowments. In addition, the agencies must have been in business for at least 5 years. So somebody can't go out and start up a new agency tomorrow and apply for funds from this from the services fund. It has to be an agency that's been around for a while. The applicants must be a Missouri, not Kansas or anywhere else, Missouri nonprofit or government entity, be in existence for at least 5 years, be in good standing with the state, secure at least 25% of their funds from sources other than CSF. So they can't operate solely on CSF funding. They have to conduct independent financial audits yearly, maintain client confidentiality, provide services regardless of race, religion, national origin, gender, or age. Screen employees and volunteers who provide services directly to children and youth. And the Clay County side gives an example, lists those agencies that have received money. And there are public agencies, including schools, and then there are private nonprofit agencies as well. And they list those in the Clay County site. Many of those would also apply in Platte County. So for example, Cornerstone of Care, Excelsior Springs Hospital, Mosca, Northland Therapeutic Riding, Synergy Services, the Family Conservancy, those have all received money in Clay County from the CSF. So that would be very similar in Platte County because, again, the fund is run by the statute and the statute's the same for each county. And it's up to the board appointed by the county commission to ensure that the money is used correctly according to the statute. One of the reasons I support this, have any of you ever heard of CAFI, C-A-F-Y? So you know it's a children's services group, and they look at substance abuse and suicide prevention. And I got involved with them a few years ago, and I've been involved with the treatment courts in Platte County for almost 14 years now. I've learned a lot more about mental health. And now with CAFI, I've learned more about mental health with children. And so a lot of this money would go to help children that have mental health issues, substance abuse issues. And if we can treat them and get their behavior and life corrected as youth, then we'll be less likely to spend money on them when they're adults. And if you're think about the adults with the treatment courts, somebody, third offense DWI, it's a felony, they go to prison. If we send them to prison, it costs us $35,000 to $40,000 a year to house them for one person. In addition, if the husband or the wife, whoever it is that goes to prison, is not working, they're not providing for their families. So we end up providing for their families. With the treatment courts, they don't go to prison. They go through intensive therapy by trained therapists, and they have lots of things they have to do. There've been over 200 graduates of the DWI court in Platte County in the 14 years it's been in existence. One of the early graduates now owns a business in 3 cities, employs 250 people, and they all pay taxes. So that's a lot better than us spending $35,000 to $40,000 on him. So taking that same concept and moving it earlier to kids, this again is to help existing agencies and ones I think of in particular, Synergy Services, Beacon, what was formerly Tri-County Mental Health, Hillcrest. Those are some prominent ones in the area here. Parkville Women's Clinic would be another one that would be eligible. They've been in existence for over 5 years, and the others have as well. So, and the Clay County site tells you where all the money goes. And the Platte County would have the same thing. So I urge you to go ahead and look at those yourself, and you can make your own decision. But I urge you to look at that and not just what you might read somewhere or have a friend tell you that what's going on. Again, there are certain things that the money cannot be spent on. And if you're concerned about illegal aliens, if you're concerned about transgender surgeries, none of the money can be spent on those things. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Greg Plumb. And now we'll hear from Chris Wright.
Oh, sorry. Can everybody hear me? I apologize. Good evening, everyone. I am going to go along the same lines. I am not going to go on ideological tangents, but just information. And ironically, the fact that I am the opposition is only kind of somewhat true. I don't think anyone opposes helping children in this room or in this county. We have a responsibility to care for our children so that they, so they don't become adult offenders, and we know that that costs taxpayers money. The reason why I am opposed to this is because we have tons of programs. As your county recorder, I emit recording fees in every quarter in this state to the Children's Fund, to the Housing Fund. We have schools. As we know, R3 just rolled back Prop C. They said that they would take money from the debt bucket and they would put it in the administrative and operations budget. They said that they would hire more more teachers, more mental health workers to address the needs in the school. And I believe every single school district has rolled back Prop C in Platte County. What I would like to see is, and I liked what Charles said, and I quoted him, I wrote it down, and he said that we can't just propose something and hope that people vote for it. What I would like to see is we have programs that are underutilized. We have programs, we have funding from different resources. We have funding that comes from the state, from the federal government, from the county government. I would like to see that these programs that are underutilized, used better, and that become more efficient to be able to help our children. We just taxing, I'll just say, so I kind of, I didn't know how I was going to approach this, because I've been, as many people who know, I've been racking my brain about this, because I don't necessarily oppose it, right? I oppose the forever tax. I oppose taxing the people for things that may not be effective and efficient. Study after study after study is telling us that the mental health in our children is getting worse and worse and worse. Everybody is throwing money at the issue. Everybody is raising taxes to address the issue, but it's getting worse and worse and worse. What we need is policy changes, and we need effective things that actually work. Raising the tax to just put a Band-Aid on it only in Platte County is not necessarily going to fix the problem. Some of the issues that our children are depressed and anxious about are systemic societal issues that no matter how much money we give to a public or a nonprofit agency, they're not going to fix that. Racism, climate change, the fact that they don't know if they're going to be able to afford an education, and if they can afford an education, they don't know if they'll be able to get a job. Those are things that just throwing money at an issue is not going to fix. And in my research, I was finding some very interesting things about what states are doing around the country instead of just throwing money at the issue. They're trying to make policy changes. And most of my information came from the National Governors Association. And states are, in Nebraska, for instance, they have a high school program where they do peer mentor, where they go in, and it's a kind of a high school to college program where they go into mental health. We have states that are rolling back the restrictions on their nurse practitioners to allow them to practice more independently, allowing them to see more clients. I know Representative Johnson's here. I know that bill was in the Assembly, 1737. Did that pass? Is that law or? But yeah, so we're trying to do that in Missouri to roll back those restrictions that we have on our nurse practitioners, so there's more mental health clinicians. The other issue that I have is we're talking about how we're going to hire more mental health clinicians, more psychiatrists, more psychologists, except that is great. We can give you more money to do that, except they don't exist. We have such a shortage in this country of mental health clinicians, psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, school social workers, school therapists. In fact, we have such a shortage, we don't even have them in the pipeline in the universities to fill the gaps in the future by 2028. So we can put more money at it, we can tax and give it to them, But theoretically, well, I don't think theoretically, I think realistically, there isn't really many people to hire. We need our state, we need Jefferson City, we need policy changes. For instance, 7 states now allow psychologists with a PhD who go to additional training to prescribe medications. 2 states allow pharmacists with a PharmD with additional education. The other states are realizing that throwing money at the issue is not fixing the problem, and they're thinking outside of the box to create a solution to help our children because they are in need. Nobody denies that. I don't deny that mental health doesn't exist. It does. We are a predominantly wealthy county. We're the 2nd per capita in the state. We're 181st in the nation, according to the Census Bureau, out of 3,300 counties. We have tons of wealthy individuals who donate and give money to these organizations. My problem is raising taxes on everybody that doesn't sunset for a problem that continues to get worse, that we're not using resources to think outside the box to fix, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Why just throw money at the problem like everyone else has done when we can come together, these organizations and our local elected officials, think outside of the box in programs that work, lobby our legislatures to make policy changes that will be effective to help our children. And so that is why I oppose this tax. Thank you.
All righty, thank you very much. And then we're just going to take 1 minute to bring the table up. So get your questions ready and we'll be at them shortly. All right. Thank you all for your patience and your peace and quiet as we've been making our way through these presentations. And so this is our final Q&A portion of the night, and we're ready to open it up. Any questions for the audience from Greg Plumb or Chris Wright?
Okay.
Yes, so you were right. Yeah, that's what you're saying. All right, here we go.
Chris, oh, don't fall. I'm not on duty tonight. Chris, you mentioned in the beginning of your statements that there were other intrinsic avenues of funds that could be used more effectively. Number one, what are they? And number two, why hasn't anything been addressed by anybody within either the county or above that level to benefit children? I mean, we have to promote what from within and all the way up the chain to get people into positions where they can be helpful, but we're not doing any of that either. So it's a multifaceted problem, but I'd like to know where the money could be used that's already existing in there that you stated.
Yeah, so one, I'll address, I think several states are using a model where they're having bachelor level clinicians who get hours addressing the shortage. Others are allowing, and I think they've been doing this for quite a while, but social workers to work while they're in university to get their clinical hours. I thinking outside of the box. And by the way, I just want to mention, I am the county recorder, so this isn't necessarily down my avenue. So I don't know all of the answers, but I will try to answer them the best I can. So where the funding comes from, I don't apply for that funding. So I don't know where every avenue of funding is, but I know that we have the children's fund that every recorder remits funds to statutorily. And that's to address child abuse and prevention programs within the state of Missouri. We have the housing fund that every recorder remits funds to. And that's to address low income housing barriers and things like that. We have, federal grants, state grants. I don't know where they are or what they call them. I know they call them different things. They have things for court. I know C-Star in Jackson County, things like that. I came from the nonprofit world. I don't know if any of you know that. And so one of the things that I had an issue is that we had an MRT program that we got $130,000 of funding for. And then my nonprofit that I work for, they trained all of us so we could put on paper that we were all trained, but then we only had 2 people that ever graduated from that program. It was just, it was a waste of the taxpayers' money to me. And I'm not saying that every nonprofit, I'm not saying that, like, we need our nonprofits. They're invaluable to the services that they provide to our community. But what I'm saying is a forever tax that never sets in a predominantly wealthy county with the tax that is on goods and services that is going to be on the essentials that you need to purchase, food, all of that. The only people that it's going to potentially harm are the low income people who that it's intended to help, or our seniors who live on a fixed budget. So we're just creating this cycle of, now we're helping this demographic, but are we, you know, but now this one is suffering because they have to pay more, you know. So I think we need to work with our legislators and think outside of the box to address this issue, because what we're doing is not working. In fact, in my research for doing this, and I'll just end real quickly, you know, I found an article by the director of the Norwegian Health Institute, and he gave a speech to Parliament where he was saying we spend $330 billion on mental health in this in the Kingdom of Norway, and it's not working. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And so he started coming up with ideas on what we do to think outside of the box to address the issues, because just throwing money at it was not working. So I think those are the types of things that we need. Our legislators, our governor need to work with other governors, the National Governors Association, and to work on trying to address the issues, and whether we give our social workers, I don't know, whether we subsidize their tuition, or whether we give them payment back, or pay them back for their student loans. Congress needs to address the issue where if you're in this program and you're going to get your student loans forgiven, then they get forgiven because you are in an essential job that is providing a service that is beneficial to the entire society, instead of this some forgiven and then they get a letter later that they have to pay it back and all. Like, we need to fix these problems so we can help our kids. We got some problems as adults, so we got to fix, you know, we got to fix these problems and think outside of the box. And that's what, okay, go ahead.
I was just saying it. Yeah, so did you have your question answered to satisfaction?
No.
Okay. And okay, so we'll carry that one
Well,
forward.
it was information. We have to think outside of the box to fix the problem.
The question, just to summarize, was about specifics, I believe.
Oh, fair enough, fair enough.
And if I may. The cost to each individual resident of Platte County for this sales tax would be minimal. And we're looking at over 1 million visitors a year to the baseball complex at Creekside. Those are people generally from outside the area, many of them from outside the state. They're bringing their money here. They're paying this sales tax. So this tax is not just on Platte County residents. It's on the people that come to Zona Rosa, people that go to the airport, people that go to Creekside, go to Weston. And that's additional money that people from outside the county would be adding to this. And I agree with Chris that it's we need more action by higher level government, no question. And one of the actions was to propose this bill, make this bill a statute, which has been around for about 14 years now. And it's just now really growing. When did Jackson County, so we've got representatives from Clay and Jackson. When did Jackson County start?
16 and 17.
2016, Clay County?
28, 17, 18.
17. So it's still fairly new. Treatment court's been around a lot longer than that, but so there hasn't been as much time, but they're already gathering data that shows the impact where there are programs that are available in the schools by trained personnel. And it may just be some teachers that have some additional training that can do some first aid, mental health in the schools. And that may be all it's needed. A child is very depressed. Well, how can you deal with a child that's very depressed right now to get them, work them out of that depression? First aid. So yes, there is a shortage of trained personnel, but this also will provide funding to help train those people that are already there to provide that first aid.
I don't have a question as much as I want to make a comment. I am a Clay County resident. And I volunteer for Beacon Mental Health. And I'm the chair of the Northland Tri, which is Teaching and Reaching Youth, which works through the North Kansas City School District. Now, I know Platte County has the coalitions as well as Wright County and Cass County. So I see firsthand how the Clay County taxes, Children's Fund tax, helps our schools. If you would, each of you would go and look and look at the I just want, okay, well, can I also just say, you mentioned that we need psychiatrists that are going to address meds. There has been that program for many years in the state of Missouri. It's called PsyD.
Yeah, but we just don't have them in university. We have a national shortage of psychiatrists and psychologists in this nation. National. We have a shortage. To go, and I just wanted to say about the real quick about the tax. You know, it may be a little bit, but we need a jail. In R3, we have MCC. So the taxes begin to add up. It's not just this tax. It's tax count. Platte County is one of the most taxed counties in the state. We pay taxes for lots of programs, for lots of issues. How many people's property taxes went up? Okay, well, congratulations. We have a new assessor. We are so behind on our assessments in Platte County that we have a new assessor who is committed to making sure that we're following state law and fixing those. So your property taxes are going to be reassessed and your property taxes might go up.
Okay.
We'll get back to the question.
I don't think this has to do with property taxes right now. I just want to say, can't we do both? It seems to me that right now we have many kids in our community that need help. And I don't get the sense that our agencies are just throwing money and they have extra money they're not using. Every time I've been involved, they're short of money and they have more kids that need help than they can serve. But we also need to make, just as you've mentioned, we need to make those structural and policy decisions at a higher level. Why can't those two work together? Let's help our kids today and let's work to change the system so maybe we don't have to help them tomorrow. We can even repeal the tax. That's perfectly logical. So I just wanted you guys to comment on why we can't do both.
Great question. Thank you.
I agree that we should do both, but my vote matters a lot more on this question than my vote for statewide or national officials. My vote has more weight on this question. So that's why I'm going to focus on what my vote has weight on.
Yeah, I agree. We need to do both. We propose a tax that never sunsets with no plan. And the plan is give us some money and we might fix a problem. The problem continues to grow, but we'll throw some more money at it and fix it. I'm not saying don't give the nonprofits the money. I'm saying let's address the issue. Just throwing money at the problem is not fixing. We are not the only one in this nation that came up with an idea to throw more money at mental health. No. The taxpayers, but we are putting more money in mental health, but the issue keeps getting worse and worse. Why?
I'm going to refer, now I'm going to pause this question because it keeps going a little circular and refer to the documentation from the other
Yeah,
counties.
yeah.
And I'm really going to follow up on what resources are otherwise available and have those posted on our site too for the other question that didn't quite get fully answered. And so we want to make sure that we get some questions answered concisely and that these other longer questions will be presented for longer discussions, like I said, on our website and between now and Election Day, I'm sure.
Thanks, Marcus. I'm Tara Bennett. I have two kids who have graduated from Park Hill South High School and one who's currently there. I have to tell you, it is heartbreaking to receive continually notices, Park Hill grieves, because of which kids have killed themselves by suicide. It's an issue. By the way, we're in R5 here. We're not in R3.
I'm just saying, I apologize. Yeah,
Well, that's fine, but we're not tracking the policies up there because we're in Parkville.
It's a countywide tax.
It is. It's a countywide tax for about $20 a person, according to the research that I saw. I came as a prepared reader. Yes, I do have a question. What I want to know is what the plan is if we're not going to give up 4 cups of coffee a year for $20 per person to address the disparity of why it is that Platte County, as we've been pointed out, one of the richest counties in our state and one of the fastest growing counties in our state, has a disparity of 840 cases to 1 provider versus the statewide average of 432 cases to mental health providers. That's not saying, that's not a lack of providers. It's a lack of resources in our county. If we aren't going to have the resources to put those into our county, what's the plan? Because I'm willing to give up $20 a year to make sure that I don't get another one of those emails saying Park Hill grieves.
Yeah, I agree with you. What I'm saying is the problem is grander than just Platte County. Mental health keeps growing. I understand, but okay. The issue keeps getting worse and worse. Okay, just because you have more money for more programs, are the programs effective? What I was saying is I would like to see our nonprofits working together, collaborating, using the programs effectively to address the needs. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that.
May I have an opportunity to respond to the question? Thank you. Our agencies do work together and they are effective. I know there's this thing floating around that, oh, that's terrible, nothing good is happening. But when you look at, just like with the treatment courts, when you look at those graduates and what they've done with their lives, and the same thing works with kids, when you help them with their mental health, their substance abuse, their depression, you help them. And sometimes you don't have a data point other than you have kids that are now more fully engaged in school. Their grade points are going up. And you can talk to teachers that have students that have gone through one of these programs, and they will tell you what a joy it is when to see those children thrive. And so, yes, they are effective. It's just that the problem's very big. This is one way for us to get more money to support existing programs, not new ones, existing programs, so that more students can thrive.
We got one question right here first.
Thank you. I want to piggyback on that topic a little bit. I think we all understand that diagnosed cases of gender dysphoria are skyrocketing. Teenage suicides are skyrocketing. Mental health issues in youth are skyrocketing. In light of the fact that Clay County spends, I don't know, $10 million a year on this issue, and you're asking Platte County taxpayers to spend roughly $6 million a year on this issue. Has Clay County or any of the other counties that has this program done an audit, an actual study to find out whether or not these services and the money spent has led to decreased incidences of these problems, not just, you know, hearsay about, well, this kid is better than he was, and those sort of, I mean, audited results. Has that been done in light of the amount of money that is being asked?
Well, since we have the CEOs of Clay County's fund and Jackson County's fund here, we can ask them. So Kathy, Rob standing there at the back.
We've got 1, 2.
So the short answer is yes. One of the things for Jackson County, and we invest this year, it'll be about $30 million. Last year, 52,000 kids in Jackson County got services that we paid for in some way, shape, or form. And our services, our funding employed about 400 individuals across the county. So I definitely agree. There is a profound shortage in every helping sector. In some ways, our dollars are helping the agencies recruit for those vacancies because they can be a little more competitive. To your question on outcomes, for our funding, every program that we fund has to tell us how they are measuring success. And then 4 times a year, they give us feedback on what that looks like. I'm going to tell you, it's a little complex because we fund across 10 service areas. So the outcomes for individual therapy looks different than the outcomes for transitional living. But we are looking at over months, over years, are you being effective? And I think one of the things, you know, candidly, we have 2 agencies we're funding this year. We're not funding them next year because the outcomes have not been there. They've not been able to deliver what they said they were going to deliver. And so that's part of our fiduciary responsibility is to make sure we're investing public dollars in organizations that are going to do what they said they're going to do.
Have you had that study by independent outside organizations, not by stakeholders?
So I have a researcher on my team who has a PhD. No.
That's the problem. These results inside people who have a stake in the program, the financial statement program. We have no independent outside studies of any success that I know of on any of these programs. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I will.
That should be a mandatory thing.
We gotta keep, let's keep with the microphones into single questions and responses.
Hi, I'm Kathy Mackin. I'm with the Children's Service Fund of Clay County. And to address your question specifically, we actually pay for an independent service audit to be completed on all of our programs. And it's conducted by ComCare, not a member of our staff, to ensure that our agencies are providing services within our statute, that the services they are providing are effective. And that's why we utilize ComCare, because they have a different qualification than just a CPA. We're not looking at just the numbers. We're looking at the therapy being provided. And is it effective? Is it working for those children? So we get into a deep dive as to whether they actually work or not. And it's part of our application process. We also make them detail what it is that they're going to utilize to serve our kiddos and to cite the evidence that that program is effective. You know, there are a number of agencies out there, governmental, that rate and evaluate whether or not programs actually work, and they give them different ratings for effectiveness, and we require that. So that's our effort to make sure that if we're paying for something, it actually is evidence-based, and then we follow up with an audit.
For that study, and then so the incidence of mental health issues that's gone down as a result.
We just looked at the student survey that is conducted about, was it every 2 years?
Every year.
Every year now, sorry. And from 22 to 24, our numbers have gone down in suicide. And our numbers in behavior.
Thank you. You got a letter.
Scott, I'll get a copy of that and send it to you.
So if voters approve this and then it isn't well run in Platte County, is there a way to go back and sunset or repeal the tax or do something to ensure accountability?
You can always repeal.
But it's a
It
ballot
would take,
question.
it would take a ballot question. But the county commission could certainly put that on the ballot.
Got to come up a little bit. We're at the.
In 1964, the 45 original Communist Goals for America were read into the congressional record. And one of them was treat all behavioral problems as a mental health or social problem. And another one was emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. My concern is that we've created this problem, and now the solution is to throw more money at it, our tax dollars. And part of the reason kids are having so many problems is because their parents are working 2 to 3 jobs just to pay the bills. They need more time with their parents. That's probably the biggest thing. And this seems completely counterintuitive. We're going to add another tax on them to take care. It doesn't make any sense. And none of you can guarantee me there's not going to be corruption or waste into it. This is a concern. Isn't this a public forum?
Yeah, we're asking questions.
Are any of you concerned about that?
I'm not concerned about corruption because I rely on our county commission to oversee this board. So we have an elected group of governmental officials that will oversee this board. And there's an annual audit required by statute, so we can tell where all the money's going. And as Clay County has an effectiveness audit by an independent agency, I think those are available for the public. So I think that's an easy way that you can prevent corruption, or really, you never can prevent anything. Can't prevent, anyway. But you can certainly reduce the opportunity for corruption. And so that's why I rely on our government to help supervise some of these things. I mean, that's part of what they talked about that in the earlier section of the town hall. So I'm comfortable with that. And many of these funds are used to help parents with kids, not to pull the kids away from parents. And we have, in addition to parents working multiple jobs, we have kindergartners and first graders that are playing 3 sports at the same time. So we have lots of different issues going on right now with kids that I certainly didn't deal with. So we have to be innovative and look at how can we support parents and teachers in helping our kids. And the money from this fund would help parents and teachers in supporting our kids. CAFE is a great organization. We have Kansas City, Missouri police officers that are there. Parkville officers show up, and they're educators and parents from the Parkville School District. And their focus is some of the very things that we would apply this money for. And again, I hadn't heard the numbers on Clay County with suicides, but they're having some success there. I'd like to have it in Platte County as well.
Corruption, no. I'm not worried about corruption. Am I worried about possibly misappropriation or mishandling? I mean, that can happen in all aspects of government. That's just realistic. I mean, that doesn't matter. That's not isolated to the children's tax. That can happen to anything. But it has happened within the children's tax. In Lafayette County, they funded several programs that didn't meet state statute. You know, the article from the St. Louis, where the FBI raided where the executive director of the Children's Fund resigned, and they raided they had an FBI investigation. You know, so am I worried about corruption? No, I'm not worried about corruption, but I am worried about, we could be funding programs that don't meet the criteria, because that can happen. because those 9 members on the board are just human. And if it sounds like a good idea, you know, it's benevolent, let's do it. But corruption, no.
You have to remember that there's an executive director who has some training, and there are evaluations just like in Clay County where it's 2 agencies you're not going to fund again. Or was that Rob that said that? Jackson County. Rob said that. So they're being proactive. Somebody's not doing what they say they're going to do. They're not effective in carrying out their program. They don't get any more money. So that's the way that the board can do it. And because of existing sales tax operations, Platte County can follow the lead. We don't have to create anything. Just make changes to apply to our county.
Awesome. Thank you. I really love making this be our last question because it was about the concerns. And I think we had some agreement on those concerns. We're not going to solve anything here. We're not trying to solve anything. This is about presenting and listening. And I am so grateful that we were able to do that during our time together tonight. But this is why civic engagement is so important. It's because a 2-hour forum is not a work session. It is not a committee. And it's how we begin to learn. And so we're going to continue to hold these and continue to raise awareness and opportunity for community engagement, and maybe even a little bit upstream too. We'll start to, as a community center, put ourselves in a position to facilitate these conversations upstream. And I don't quite know what that means, but I know it's possible. And I know that with the collective effort of our community, we'll be able to do it. So thank you very much for all of your time. Thank you for our presenters, our candidates, and thank you for our community and volunteers for showing up. And have a good night.